Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Seeing some upside as we were talking about in last night's YouTube video, a 30-minute crossing up into possibly the top side of our daily expected move early on in the day is something we're paying attention to, just so you are aware. At the same time as this, we were pointing this out in the video last night. This is why it is a good idea to try to watch the entire video, because we're going to talk about not only the stock that you're looking at, what could happen with these certain stocks, with these ETFs, with these indices, but we're also going to be talking about in those videos why you should watch the whole thing is because we talk about the dollar, and something that we were paying attention to towards the end of the video after we talked about AMC and GME, we'll talk about those a little bit, was the dollar. We're going to pay attention to the behavior of the dollar. At this moment, we see higher prices, right? The pre-market opening up pretty good, up almost 1% for the SPY. But we notice that dollar is increasing. Okay, so the dollar is increasing in this area. That will be an interesting thing to pay attention to. We see that 4-hour able to curl up and starting to go positive at this moment. As of right now, the daily scale is still turned up, still pretty deep on that MACD, so we'll pay attention to it. But the dollar is going up while the market goes up right now, so we'll pay attention to that throughout our morning. Good morning. Get your coffee ready. Let's get going today. As you can see, the SPY has a weekly range here. If you didn't catch the YouTube video last night, still good to go watch that maybe if you have some free time today. But 554.69 to the upside and 526.03 to the downside. We got the daily expected moves here of 546.47. Looks like we're heading in that direction as we open up, and 534.25 to the downside there for the day. Those are your 68% zones for the day and a 68% zone for the week. Pretty big zone. Okay, now the Qs, we're seeing a similar thing. As we zoom out, let's give you those levels just so people can see it at the beginning of the video. 464.92, and then we do have 432.46 to the downside there. So that's your weekly expected move. As far as daily goes, you might be hard to see it because it's right on top of the monthly pretty much. 455.61 to the upside, and we do have 441.77 to the downside. So as of right now, we're seeing if some 30-minute MACDs can curl up. We're seeing a little bit of a green bar. That means that we can see some more upside. We'll pay attention to that, but just note this morning, as the dollar is higher while the market is higher, there was some selling behind the curtain over in the pre-market or even last night, and so that's what we're paying attention to this morning. The Dow seeing some upside here. Some people asking as well. I did see an email from someone asking for, hey, maybe we could see some Dow Jones weekly expected moves and things like that. We might add that next week. I just kind of saw that email this morning, so we'll maybe add that next week. 30-minute has rotated down for the volatility. A big sign of this rejection here is going to be an interesting thing. That tells me, hey, we could see some positivity for a moment. I think we just want to see any time this 2-hour actually does rotate back up, right? That kind of helped us out when we got this little pop. We see it get down by the center line. Uh-oh, bad things. Nope, simmered down, and then uh-oh, bad things, and that really started to take off. So I think a 2-hour can really help us out if we're going to see more volatility, as some big signals are confirmed there, really kind of confirming some crash signals. So now we still have to pay attention to what's going to go forward as those develop. Okay, we have to actually see if the crash signals are holding, see if the price action is proving it, seeing how things are going throughout our day. How you guys doing this morning? It's gonna be a week, all right. Happy money making Monday. Hey, please look at big lots. Yeah, we can look at big lots to start off the day. First stock of the day. Let's look at the first stock of the day. Big thing for big lots is actually the 30-minute divergence here. Now, this is a wonky 30-minute divergence, just a little bit, but you see the little tapering, right? We're really dropping off, see the tapering. So that tells me a 2-hour can curl up. The 2-hour has curled up with a rejection at this moment, so you're now seeing that curl up. If you want to see a bigger time frame from here to kind of help you out with some kind of crossing, I would be looking at a 4-hour, even a daily at this point, because if you look over at the daily, look, what is that? That's a huge divergence. All right, what happened after we made this little divergence here? Well, we saw a good upside move that then faded. We tried to make another point here, didn't work out. As of right now, you got some divergence here. If you curl up on a daily scale, big lots might be seeing a massive, massive move. Good morning, Elias. How you guys doing? Palantir and Dell. Yeah, we can go look at Palantir. Palantir is on those weekly expected moves over on Patreon. We noticed that trying to curl up pretty dramatically there. There was some weird thing, like, right, this moved after hours on Friday, actually. So if you actually go back and look, we might have closed here, but after hours on Friday, we actually ended up at higher prices in the after hours. So something we can pay attention to at this point for something like Palantir is the weekly expected move. Why? Because you're going right up towards it right now. It's pretty much right when you touch this line, you're going to be at a weekly expected move. I'll just let you guys know about that. Oh, also, just so everyone does have them, the updated levels for GME and AMC. AMC 556 really spreading out there, but not as much as GME. GME really spread out, 2906. Okay, so if you want to see some kind of gamma squeeze, those are the levels to have on your chart. If you get above those, you can see some good stuff. Mara seeing a big reaction, so that immediately makes me want to go look at something like Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, even though this is some good upside here, it is kind of drawn out. It's starting to go positive. If that curls down on the 2 hour, not a good sign for Bitcoin as of right now. One thing I was paying attention to was the daily divergence here that we talked about. And you see that is some steep divergence between these lows. Could hold as a double bottom. We talked about that. So if this thing starts to curl up, Bitcoin might actually see some dramatic upside. We'll pay attention to that going forward. Another one was actually SMCI, seeing if that can catch a big bounce there, but we'll see. It seems like a lot of stocks have some kind of basing out signal on a bigger time frame, but are they going to go down to dip a little bit more? And are those going to fully play out because they've been beat up for a long time? It can lead to a lot of lower highs. So NVIDIA is rejecting off of resistance as of right now. Yeah, it's trying to break out of our zone, able to curl up. The main thing for NVIDIA is going to be the 2 hour curl up. Can this bar hold positive and be solid for a whole another hour and 54 minutes? That's going to be a very big deal. So pay attention here, that 2 hour curling up. But you notice this, no basing out signals really, nothing really down here to tell you, oh yeah, this is going to be a strong bottom. If anything, you'd be saying, okay, maybe we need to react in some way, fall off, and then go down to that 95.63 again. That would be more the look I'm looking for. So, sort of look something like that. That would be what I'm looking for an actual sturdy base. Obviously, we can V-shape at any time, but we'll pay attention to it. I think that is less likely as we see the dollar continue to remain at higher levels as far as this morning goes. So something we can pay attention to early on is going to be the PCC. Now, someone mentioning DJT. Let's go check on that real quick this morning. And we see DJT. Remember, DJT is still holding a daily signal, very rough on this daily signal, but it is flat on your RSI. And if I scroll out on this MACD, you're going to see, what is that? That's up on the MACD here. So this is divergence in DJT. Weirdly enough, you get a cross up, hey, you can see something crazy. Tesla, if we go over and look at something like Tesla seeing a nice upside move. Remember, this thing does not want to continue to curl down. The 30-minute curls up. We can see some positivity. What we're overall looking for here is, are we going to be able to break through and keep this structure, right? The left, the head, the right shoulder, kind of a wonky head and shoulders, but pretty much you're saying up in this area, we said 234. It looks like it's going to hit 234. This is why I'm a position trader, because it can take time, right? We said that over here, it could react up like this, dip back down, go up towards 234. And that's kind of what's playing out. It kind of happened a little bit longer time frame than what I figured, but it ended up getting there. Now we're dipping down. See if we can really break through, retest, and keep going. That's what I'd be paying attention to for Tesla. Because if you react and then you fall down and you keep going, that's going to be the double top symbol if you start to take out of that low. What is CGC? I don't think I've looked at this before. Oh, canopy growth. Okay. Canopy growth, I would really start to look at bigger time frames on a lot of these, just see if you get any little 2 hour signal. You have a little 2 hour signal for your MACD there that led to that little bounce. So the daily scale needs to turn up here. No real reversal signals in this one at all, though. So nothing really to go off of here. I mean, you have flatness of the MACD, and that's about it. So this could just be a bounce that leads to more selling, but it could be a bounce on the daily scale. So I'd pay attention to that. If this is something that has some kind of, short seller problem, I don't know. Pretty much it seems like tons of stocks have a short seller problem. Anytime those turn up on a daily, that's what you're paying attention to. That's what we're looking for from AMC at this moment. I wanted to check over on Meta. Not on a daily scale, though, on a 2 hour. Nope, nothing really. Yeah, Alex. I'm sorry to say that there wasn't like the best signals for us to go off of, but we always try to give you something, which is, hey, look for that daily momentum to be with you, and then pay attention to reversal signals within that daily, meaning look at a 2 hour, see if there's divergence. If the daily crosses up and you see a 30-minute divergence, it might just be a little bit like, hey, I need to be careful with this one. Maybe it's going to consolidate, and then the big move's coming later. The Apple Showcase, I don't think I've even looked at the Apple Showcase, to be totally honest. Yeah, Frankie, hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, paying attention to JPY can really help out. Let's go look at oil real quick this morning. We see that oil, and I know we'll look at USO in a moment. I just really like these 2 hours for this. This is the shortest time frame I like to look at for the anything that trades kind of futures market. So this tells me what can happen. Well, a 4 hour could curl up, but that's starting to curl down. So if that 2 hour curls down, this 4 hour is not going to be able to curl back up, right? So this 4 hour might need to drop down a little bit, create that divergence as well. If you can hold this level and just turn back up, this 4 hour might reject again, like it did right here, kind of reject more downside, and we'll see what happens with that. It looks like maybe a daily scale has been beat up for a while. So all this is trying to do is get those basing out signals to turn up. If it doesn't get those basing out signals and just keeps crossing down, it will continue to head lower. Now let's look over at USO just to make sure, because USO can sometimes give us a little bit of a different signal. Okay, so we're going to look at a 30-minute. See, the 30-minute signal looks fantastic. You see that 30-minute signal? That looks fantastic. I love that look for a 30-minute. It's great. It's very significant. It's still crossed up. If the 30-minute drops down, or if a 15-minute drops down, you might need to manage it for a moment. But I really like that 30-minute signal so far. Is the 2 hour able to curl up? That's kind of the big deal here. So that's a good trigger. There you go. So, you know, looking at the futures, it would be like, okay, the 4 hours already crossed up because it's futures. But this can really help you out in actually making a decision looking at USO. Legini, how are you doing? I'm doing fantastic. I had a good morning. I treated my wife a little bit this morning. I woke up really early because baby girl was making some noise, so I woke up early. I made breakfast. I made coffee. I took the trash out. I took the dogs out. I cleaned up the kitchen. My goodness, what a gentleman. It's live in 3 hours. I'll check it out, Daniel. We'll see. As far as it goes, a lot of the time you'll see signals before big events. Right, signals before big events. So what would we be looking for here? This is terrible, right? This is awful. This is garbage. What are you seeing? Well, it's going down to another low. So maybe I can go into a shorter time frame. And what if this 30-minute actually started to turn back up? Well, that would be divergence, right? If you end up down at these levels and then you turn back up, that would be a divergence going into positive territory and also very close to going positive. So that's what I would pay attention to during the event. What data do we get today? Well, the important day is going to be Wednesday, okay? So we can go through data just for a brief moment here, but today we don't necessarily get a ton. I think in consumer inflation expectations could be a big deal, and maybe total vehicle sales for some stocks. But for the most part, tomorrow we don't see much either besides some API crude oil stock, the stock exchange there. Then we get to CPI. So Wednesday CPI is going to be important. Tuesday we also get GameStop earnings. Tuesday we also get a debate between two presidential candidates. So a lot can happen going forward after Tuesday night pretty much. CGI on Wednesday. IWM looking a little bit weak. I got to update these levels. If you want the levels for IWM, I'm going to update them real quick. Let's get those levels on there. So for IWM, you have 215. What is that? 71? Down there, 215.71. And then the downside for IWM is 200.09. Okay, 200.09. So still a pretty big, decent size range. So you can see how you would want to head lower. Do we have basing out signals on the 30-minute here? Someone answer my question in the chat. On IWM, do you see any signal as far as the 30-minute goes? Let's do this step by step for fun this morning. 30-minute, do we see a signal that we could revert around right now? Like a very highly probable signal. Do we see anything? It's not a trick question. I'm not trying to trick you. Whatever you think, whatever you're seeing, use your skills for a second and tell me, what do you think is going on here? Do you think that this would be a great trade setup as it just crossed, or are you thinking a little bit differently? Yes. Okay. Okay. Aman says yes. Let's see. We actually do, Wanda. That's something we pointed out in the video last night. That was kind of interesting. Good signal. Okay, so what about, so for people who saying there's a good signal, what is good about this signal? What is good about this signal for IWM? And I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just asking you what you're thinking. MACD moving up. Okay. So is the MACD moving up a complete reversal signal by itself? Is the MACD just turning up mean, hey, we gotta bounce, we're going higher for sure, we're gonna reverse around this trend? That's what I'm talking about, reversal of the trend, by the way, not just can we see some kind of bounce. I'm talking about, is this a good signal to reverse the trend? Bad signal, still below all moving averages, that's 1 point. Okay, awesome, so here we go. This is more so what I'm getting at, and I think Jeffrey and Ifoma are kind of getting it right, okay? It has a positive divergence on the 30-minute RSI and the MACD. Okay, so if you're confused about, don't just, you know, and I'm not saying don't answer the question, right? I like it when people are answering. I think that's fantastic, right? So the trend is down. This is kind of good by Tom saying the trend is definitely down. And someone said there is divergence. I cannot see that divergence on my chart. If I just hold my mouse, you don't even have to draw, just hold my mouse here. I have a nice dotted line. And all I have to do is go, is there a blue line below my dotted line? Yes, it is. And that's perfectly fine. I want to encourage you guys to keep trying to answer because that's how we get better. That's how we get better. So is there a blue line below my dotted line? Yes, there is. So when I draw that, the direction is going to go down. So that's actually down. There's no divergence there. And this tapering that we had got violated, and now we're kind of spreading that out a little bit. And then we're starting to flag. So all I have to do right away when I do see a stock like this and I pull up a 30-minute chart, if I'm looking for a little trade, right, on a 30-minute, a little 2-hour cross-up, all I have to do is first thing, just look at my indicators. I don't even have to really look at the price. I just look at the indicators. Am I seeing an upward divergence? No, I'm seeing downside. Okay, so I'm just seeing a continuation of the trend. So what does that tell me for this bounce? And then also on the RSI, am I seeing that upward divergence or am I seeing it down, meaning a continuation of the trend? Continuation of a negative trend is what we're seeing here. And then what we want to say is, okay, yeah, we're seeing some green. But do we have reversal signals? No, we just pointed that out with the MACD. Okay, now the price action doesn't look absolutely terrible in my opinion. So what can we say about this bounce? Well, it's far away from that center line. So if this is going to V-shape and go like this, right, Anand? Sorry, I was saying Amand because two N's next to each other look like an M. If this is going to V-shape, that would be a little bit hard to see. That would be a little bit unlikely in my opinion. And it wouldn't be a good trade setup for me because it would just be a cross up in the MACD on a 30-minute and I say, yeah, sure, put all my money in, right? There's not a lot of reasons behind the trade. That's what we talk about in the courses, right? So the most likely thing to happen from this area as we're far away from there is some kind of bounce that leads into that rolling back down. And then once I do see this look, once I do see this type of look on the RSI and the MACD at the same time, that's when I actually see reversal signals, all right? That was just a quick little quiz, all right? A little pop quiz this morning. Welcome to the class. So the reason you have to be aware of that is because this V-shaping is very unlikely, especially without a divergence, right? Without a divergence, it's very unlikely. Right? And you're kind of flagging, which means this could not even bounce. This could just move sideways and then drop down one more time. Yes, exactly. So if you're looking for, if your price action looks down like this and my line down here kind of matches that, you notice how they look similar? That's going to be wrong. You want them to be completely opposite, right? So I'll draw it out for you. You wanted it to look like this. That's what you want to see. You want to see this. You want to see a complete difference from the price action. All right, and then you want to see that on the RSI as well, right? We would want to see this. So I'm going to pull my mouse off so you can see it. That's what you want to see. I just drew it out. The red lines, ignore what the MACD is doing. Just pay attention to my fake lines. That is more about what you want to follow. Now, when you're looking into it, you want to follow that blue line crossing the orange. So when that divergence is formed, it's going to be with the blue line. Okay, most of the time it will form with the orange line as well, but sometimes you do see instances where it forms only with the blue line. But the blue line is what you want to pay attention to. Most of the time you're going to see it, it's going to be very, very obvious. Okay, now we're going to show you one that has divergence. Okay, since we're talking about that, since we're talking about that, we're gonna talk about the a good signal. All right, we're gonna go look at NVIDIA, and we're seeing that pop up. Now, do you see the difference right away? Tell me if you see the difference right away. And everyone who answered that that was a good signal, tell me that if you see the difference right away. Okay, because there was no real good signals for a big bounce. All right, so let me see. Do you see the big difference? Okay, awesome. We see the difference. Awesome. PCC and the VIX. We'll look in a second. I just want to get through some points. Do a little lesson in the morning to start the week. Kind of refresh everyone. For the free game, he's giving Z Shotty. Thank you. Yeah, so you should immediately, especially if you've taken the courses, and I think like even if you made a mistake and you said, hey, that last one has reversal signals, I think it'll click in your brain once you see it very obviously, right? So I'm showing you a very obvious one. Now, does this mean that this has to play out? No, it means it's highly probable, as it is getting closer to that center line, to go into that positive trend. All right, so that tells us what? Now we know there's a reversal here. We see the obvious tapering, very obvious tapering. Awesome. We have divergence. We have reversal signal on both of our indicators at the same time, which tells me that this can go into a positive trend, which can then curl up a 2-hour. So if I personally was taking NVIDIA, which I actually did, where did I take it? I actually took it right here. Right there. That's where I took an NVIDIA play. All right, I'm taking an NVIDIA play to the upside. Am I selling that? No, I'm going to wait and see if that 2 hour is fully able to curl up and then make a decision. I'm going to manage that trade maybe on a 15-minute because I'm doing a 30-minute signal, right? We talk about all this stuff in the course. We teach you how to manage those 30-minute trades. Now, the other thing that I can do to make myself feel better is if this signal is going to be good, then I can pay attention to a 2 hour. If that thing curls up and I see continued positivity, that's fantastic, because as that keeps bouncing, we might see this type of thing happen, see a 30-minute divergence, and then I can say, ooh, take my money, like take my profit, right? And I'll have weekly expected moves. That's what those are useful for. So the reason that I took this was because it was outside of a weekly, it was outside of a monthly, there's a 30-minute divergence there, it looks like a 2 hour can turn around. Very, very good stuff. All right. Hopefully you guys liked today's lesson about divergences and talking about the MACD. You think SPY closes higher? Yeah, that's perfectly fine to think that. I think that that's a likely thing for now to see if this 30-minute can really gain some steam. And then we also need to pay attention to the PCC being at somewhere around 0.9. So it's sitting right in the middle, so we kind of have to see with that. Most of the time we would want to see, as there is selling in the market, we want to see people go to that call side. So if we start to see a PCC get down to this level, then we can say a rug pull might be coming for the SPY, as that dollar is still up in these areas, right? It's really scaled up overnight while stocks actually headed higher. As far as volatility goes, pay attention to the 30-minute for today. If that 30-minute does rotate up, if we see a low PCC, a high dollar, and then we see volatility rotate up, it is very likely to see a rug pull, right? It is a higher probability. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it is a higher probable thing to see some kind of rug pull. That's what I'm gonna put that video out soon. I'm kind of doing the write up on it to make sure I talk about things in sequence in order that I want to. Want to find more direction, no trades until tomorrow or Wednesday for me. And I think that's perfectly fine, because you could have some future setups that look pretty good. I'm just going to be honest about that, as a lot of things do not have basing out signals. Let's go click on a random one. Let's try like Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't have the best basing out signal, right? Now that's a good move, but do we have those really good signals to get into a trade? Is the direction down for the MACD? You see the difference between NVIDIA right away? Downward price action, downward MACD, downward RSI. This is just a continuation of the trend right now. So we can continue to bounce, and we'll see maybe even that 2 hour turns up, but we'll see maybe that go like this before we actually see that upside. And that would be, we can know if that's going to happen, or at least more probable to happen, if we see that dollar scaling up a little bit quickly. Negative divergence in J&J. We can keep looking at a few of these. I like that people are pointing them out. Thank you, Raphael. Let's see. Negative divergence in J&J, 30-minute and the 2-hour and the daily. So right away on the 30-minute, I guess you could say, yeah, I would give it to you in this instance because it's probably sitting pretty good on an hourly. Like if we look at an hourly, you can really see that. So I'll give it to you on that if you can see it on the hourly. And then the 2-hour one is really nice. I really like this one on the 2-hour. That confirmed on this big bar here, told you more downside is likely. We head to lower levels down to 164.19, and then we have to pay attention to our daily scale because we do have divergence that has confirmed. So you're experiencing a bounce now. So what could we pay attention to? Well, you're always going to experience it bounces. So if you really want to manage the trade very, very closely, well, this 30-minute curl up is what I'd be watching. Is it in negative territory? Yes. So the likelihood that this is going to cross up and then cross right back down is something to pay attention to. So if this 30-minute is going to rotate back down, that means this 2-hour is not going to be able to confirm back up. But what's something I need to pay attention to? Well, if that 30-minute doesn't rotate down, and the 2-hour does curl up, then watch out, because if that 2-hour crosses again, you might have another signal that this wasn't the right timing. This one's a little better. And the best part about the 2-hour is, and I know we're talking about a lot, this is very, probably difficult to take in if you're new, but if that 2-hour does rotate up, and we want to see if that's going to continue to rotate up. I mean, continue to rotate up, right? Because that would turn up a daily scale back to the upside. If you just get a couple 2-hour pops like this, and then it starts to fall down, this ain't going to cross. All right, that's not going to cross. So you want to see if that daily is crossing up. That can mean a little bit more positivity as well. But heading into earnings, I think we have October might be a struggle for J&J. Good stuff, though. I like it. My sentiment about the market is NVIDIA is showing some basing out signals and could experience some kind of 2-hour pop here. That's truly what I believe going forward. I think the 2-hour could reach all the way up into these levels, but because I think that doesn't mean that has to happen. We're seeing that PCC slowly drop. We're seeing the dollar higher while the market is higher, which tells me I have to be aware of any kind of rug pull in the market, but that can be extended. You always know that can be extended, but someone saying, hey, I'm sitting on my hands, I think that's perfectly fine, because what if NVIDIA does this, turns right back down, and then creates some kind of signal down here? That's more what I'd be paying attention to for the big move, right? I want to be in the big move, and that's why we're paying attention to this. But in order for us to get a big move, we most likely need to see a higher dollar first that then can fade. So cool stuff. This is something I would definitely be looking out for. Something like that. Going into what, next week? That would be around Fed rate decision, by the way, if this all played out like this. That'd be the 18th. Apple's a good play. Yeah, looking over at Apple, let's pay attention to that. This is the 30-minute, right? We're coming down to those levels. We're seeing it start to react. Pay attention if a 30-minute crosses up. That could mean more positivity. That could mean a 2-hour is about to cross up. So Apple could have a signal. I think you got to pay attention to 225.84. That's where you can run into problems, or more positivity, right? Maybe we get all the way back up to here, right? We don't always have to talk negatively. We want to think of both sides and just be reacting. But good morning. How's everyone doing out there today? Hope everyone's doing well. I just want to see real quick. I'm going to scan through and just see if anything is curling up on a 2-hour. Notice the XLU 2-hour big divergence across Tesla. Most likely we're going to see 30-minute pops, and if it's going to fade, then it's going to be a 30-minute fade. If we start to cross on 2 hours, then it's a different story. Google ended up losing that 153.87. Ooh, Netflix, uh-oh. Netflix doesn't look too bad. Good morning, Tammy. Will it go under 100 today? I think with the divergence, it's less likely unless we see that rigged behavior. We're getting 2 pieces of the rigged behavior. We just need the third one to really figure it out. As of right now, I think upside for stocks is a likely thing, some kind of 2-hour pop. Hello, bought your courses. How did they go? Hopefully they went well. If you have any questions, please let me know. We just did a little lesson before this. If you want to self-discovery, why don't you, if you go back about 7 minutes or so, we actually just went over a few stocks and kind of talked about some stuff that's in the course. If you need some of that, that would be probably good this morning. Kind of give you in real time what we're paying attention to, what looks like bad, not necessarily divergence, no reversal signals versus one that does on the 30-minute. We just kind of looked at NVIDIA for that. Just going to keep our eye on this signal to see if that 30-minute can go positive. That's kind of a big deal. Some kind of pop. When you say manage risk, sell. When I say manage risk, yeah, I mean managing risk overall means managing the position, meaning taking out some contracts, meaning if I see this signal, okay, we'll do it on this right here for you, self-discovery, okay, we'll get into more that's as far as managing the trade. So because I'm in this trade, I can talk about managing the trade a little bit, right? I'm in this trade right now. I see the 30-minute divergence. I take my play. I see upside. Awesome. All fantastic stuff so far. 3% move. Fantastic. We're green. Fantastic. Love to see it. Now, one thing I can pay attention to if I want to be a little bit risky is just if the 30-minute rolls back down. But a lot of the time with these type of moves, I like to be very involved, meaning I like to chop that in half, go into a 15-minute, and then see if that curls down, because where is it? It's really, really close to that center line. So if the 15-minute fully crosses, then it might be more than just consolidation to head higher. It might mean, ooh, downside again, which means I'm not It pretty much means I'm not necessarily fully wrong. Maybe my timing is off. We talk about timing a lot of the time. So managing risk means if I have my position here and I see a 15-minute curl, I can manage my risk by selling those positions, seeing if it makes another signal, and then doubling down kind of on this one. That's more what I'm paying attention to. I think as of right now, that's a pretty solid one, right? Usually when it's that steep, you do see it play out pretty well. 540 short on the SPY. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you want reasons for taking those trades. Now, does the SPY have the same signal as NVIDIA? No, it doesn't. So the SPY is saying, hey, I could react up and curl back down and maybe give you that 30-minute signal later on, right? But if it's going to just take NVIDIA going higher to really extend this, then we're going to see a 2-hour curl up. If we know that this is probably going to extend higher, maybe go to a weekly expected move, we're going to see that 2-hour be able to curl up. That is not close to curling up. Why is it not close to curling up? It's mainly because you don't have reversal signals in here yet. You need a little bit more time in the price action to get that. But if it does curl up without those signals, then you would say an extended move could be possible here. Did that help self-discovery? That's overall what we talk about in the course when we're talking about, managing risk as far as a 30-minute trade goes. But yeah, managing the trade means, hey, I don't want to lose money. This could be bad, so I'm going to take my risk out, right? So you don't use limit stops? No, not necessarily. Sometimes I will on certain things, but for the most part, I am my stop, right? I'm taking full accountability, full responsibility for my trading. I would sell, yes. I would sell at, I would look at the orders. I would look at the price between the orders, pick a price. Most likely, if you're managing a 30-minute trade on a 15-minute, a lot of the time you're going to break even, make 10% or lose 10 to 20%. And if you're managing it correctly. Now you can see times where you'll see crazy moves. So let's talk about this too for NVIDIA, because this is kind of good. A lot of the time, what do you see? What if you see a gap down, right? What if we did all of this and then we got to the end of the day and then tomorrow we gap down like this? Well, I want to pay attention to this because this at this point is an overall not the best trade. It's a 30-minute signal. And now if I sell that, I'm losing say 60% or something like that on whatever I'm doing. Maybe I want to look for, hey, did I take the right expiration to make it so I'm not losing big percentages? Maybe by the time it's down like this, if I took a month out, I'd only be down 25, 30%, and I can manage the trade and then see if that turns back around. And then on the second one, I would maybe add a little bit more money. But if you were looking for a time to maybe scale into a position, right, as things are troublesome, you might say, I'm going to take a small position here, and then if that goes, I make money. But if that turns down and maybe it gaps down, right? Let's say we gap down like this. Well, then maybe if this turns back around, I can scale in to make my price still good. And then we see that extended move, and then I can take profit in the move at a weekly range, right? I would encourage you, if you're shorting, whenever you see this type of signal, to that's a bad habit. I would say that's an overall bad habit. Okay, you easily could see that continue, but for the most part, you see this, I would not, I don't think I've ever taken out a short position when I see this. When I see this steep divergence on the RSI, I would just say that is not the most diligent thing to do. Now, I don't know your exact trading style and things like that. See, when you say thanks ... it makes me think like it wasn't helpful. Makes me think it wasn't helpful. I want to make sure you're able to learn from what we're putting out there. But very good stuff. As we go look at something like the SPY, we got to pay attention. The 30-minute has crossed up, so we can see something crazy above this level. What we'll pay attention to is that call side, and we'll pay attention to the dollar. Dollar's still scaling up 0.37. Yeah, if you're seeing a 30-minute divergence, you more so would be like, I need to be thinking about taking profit on things. That's what your MACD is telling you there. It's like, this is a reversal signal. So if you're seeing a reversal signal that says, hey, the stock could head up, it kind of is backwards thinking to say, okay, let me take some kind of downside play right now, right? It's kind of the exact opposite of what you should do. But you might have a different trading style. Maybe you're scalping, maybe you're doing something else. I'm talking about, obviously, my position style trading. That's kind of what we teach in the course too, as far as taking profit. Look for reversal signals. They're great profit-taking tools, and then you can get right back into another trade. A lot of the time, like if I had a short position on NVIDIA or something like that, let's say I had a short position, a lot of the time what I'll do is I see a major drop down like this. I notice that it's really deep on the MACD, so it most likely will need a divergence to head higher. I might take some profit on that initial drop, let it consolidate, but keep a couple of contracts. Then when those couple of contracts and we see this signal, I would sell all of those contracts. At that point, I would no longer have a short position in NVIDIA. Once I do the other course, oh, which one did you take? Did you take the first one was the swing trading course? Yeah, if you get into the using technical indicators course, that's mainly what we're talking about when we see this setup. All right, more so if you're paying attention to the swing trading course, hey, 2-hour swing trade, right? 2-hour crosses up. You have to note you're below that 200. You have to note where that MACD is. It's very deep down low, so you know that this is most likely some kind of bounce that's going to lead to more selling, right? That's the most probable thing there. So that tells me, what do I need to pay attention to? Well, if there's any kind of weakness on a 30-minute, maybe up towards a weekly expected move. It doesn't mean I can't take the play if this 2-hour bar looks good. I just need to know, maybe I need to take profit a little bit earlier so I don't get beat up. Maybe this is just going to go like that and then cross right back down. Yeah, very far away from the center line there, Nyson. We can go look at Baba real quick. Let's go look at this guy. Alibaba, which is my sister-in-law's dog's name. 30-minute for Alibaba. Have we ever seen a cross-up? No. Now, one thing to note here is if you're looking for maybe that first bounce from a 30-minute, sometimes you'll see a signal just on your RSI. Now, is that a good potential trade setup? That's the thing. Do I have enough reasons to tell me this is a high probable big move? Not necessarily. You just have this little signal here on the RSI that if that turned back around, it would say something, but it could just be some kind of bounce to lead you to make a better trade setup in the future. Volatility is almost down 10%. So yeah, as this sits in the middle and kind of even reacts back up, it's kind of leading to believe, hey, we could see an extended little squeeze. We'll pay attention to it, but it's pretty much like, hey, we could see a rigged move, but we could also see a squeeze if people keep trying to short this thing right now. And when I say squeeze, I don't mean a squeeze like the last time. I mean a squeeze like for a day or two, right? A little 30-minute squeeze, 2-hour squeeze. Tesla still want to see a 30-minute curl up, really. Still want to see a 30-minute curl up. We can get back up to this area. That would be nice. Now you want to see, can it break through, or is it going to experience some lower high, or is it going to have divergence at this level? That's going to fully play out, because even if you get a divergence at this level, you could just do something good here, which is see some kind of breakout. If you get some kind of breakout like that, you have to pay attention, because this is overall like a left head and right shoulder. Janet Yellen said no red flags. Janet Yellen is one of the biggest liars in all of financial media. But to take that into consideration, she's one of the worst at commenting on financials, in my opinion. And the thing is, people know that her voice holds a lot of weight. So that can affect the market and make it go higher. But just note, you know what is real. Unemployment is still bad. The market is really in turmoil. You're getting on inversion. You're heading into that soon. You have GameStop earnings. You have tons of stuff that can really shake up the market. Do we end up going higher? That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, there are red flags absolutely everywhere. There are red flags absolutely everywhere. But when someone people trust says that it's good, you can see good price action. It could just mean, hey, we could go to all-time highs first, right? She could be right for a little bit and say, oh, there's no red flags to her, but we noticed the red flags. It's just, have the red flags played out in the market yet? Is unemployment bad? Yes, you have triggered the SOM rule. You have seen the extension up. You have exponentially grown from about 3.5% to 4.3% in our, well, the reading before this last one. Yeah, it's still at 4.2, and judging by how the data looked last week, I would pull it up, but judging how the data was playing out last week, you saw major revisions in jobs data from the previous readings, but you got great numbers for the time being, right? They look fantastic. Every time you get the data the first time, it looks fantastic for the market. Then you notice a month later, it gets revised and cut in half. That is a huge problem. That's why I don't like data drops. I don't think you should ever have a revision. I think you should only be posting the actual number. Delay the data for a month, and we could just get the real number a month later, and that's perfectly fine, right? We don't need to know August job data if that jobs data is going to be wrong. Just let it delay for a month. That's what I would do. But obviously they want to trick the market, which just shows you that at the end of the day, there is some kind of maliciousness going on if they're just willing to revise it and allow the market to move in the wrong direction for a period of time. I think that's incorrect. Japanese mail and AMC, we might have to spray some on there. You feel like we're precisely, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people say that as far as the SPY goes. A lot of people saying, hey, what would the SPY do in this area if it wants to mirror 2007? Well, then actually, weirdly enough, you might see lower prices for a second, see some kind of bounce, and then get a solid lower high, right? That's what would most likely take place. You can get some kind of reaction like this, just fall back down, then get a bigger one, and then start to fall again. That would make more sense as far as 07 in my eyes, if you kind of lay them over each other. And I think if we're going to see some kind of short squeeze, I think that might actually be, hey, what if we get this drop? And the reason I'm saying that is because I'd really like to see some better basing out signals, even if it's the 2 hour is going to see that run. I still think the 2 hour might need this 30-minute signal to remain really, really good. I think it might need a reversal signal because you're going to get into danger. Even if you go to that weekly move, you're just going to be here. Even if we shot up to it right now, you're only going to be about right there, which means, that's where we have a 68% chance to roll back down. And then this would be more where I would say, hey, some kind of squeeze could actually take place. My love-hate with SMCI. Yo, SMCI has been wild, though. Like, that thing is just... that major rip down was kind of insane for SMCI. This one right here, that was a crazy 3-day period right there. But you don't have terrible signals, right? You really don't have terrible signals. You have a rejection divergence on the 2 hour. A lot of the semiconductors are saying, hey, we want to cross up. So we have to pay attention to it. Are they saying they want to cross up and turn up the daily? Well, I would say SMI is giving an argument for it, but even with this rejection, it's still very close to, or very far from the center line. So a little bit weary on that one, but I think NVIDIA still has the opportunity to pop on the 2-hour, see that upside. And then this is kind of, I'm going to use NVIDIA because it's a great one. We see some kind of push, then that drops off. And then we see this. This is when we'll most likely start to talk if there's going to be some kind of squeeze. What would that lead into? Well, you're noticing September 19th on the chart. Well, September 17th, September 18th would line up with this. So that's the look I really like going forward. If that sets up, that I'm just talking about it like it's a good looking trade setup. Anytime that you're making money on a trade, you're taking money away from someone who is on the opposite end of that trade. That's all you know. Pretty much, if you buy a call, that means someone is selling you that call, aka not thinking your play is going to play out. Therefore, if you make money on a play, that person directly loses money on the play. You can probably never know exactly who you're losing or who you're taking money from. If you want it to be hedges and banks, then it's going to be you want AMC and GME to pop off. That's what this is. You want this thing to curl up on a daily scale. And look at that. Oh, wait, that's curling up on the daily scale. Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, the sad truth is a lot of the time you will be taking from other retail as well if you're trading certain stocks. If you're trading certain stocks, right? If you're trading highly retail stocks. So that would be things like Tesla. Right, Tesla is a serious one. Palantir are where retail traders really beat each other up. By the way, Palantir is outside of its weekly expected move right now. Maybe Palantir had a little thing to say here, but for the most part, we'd say, is the 2-hour curling up? It is, so positivity can be had. All right, positivity can be had there. 30-minute curling up, but it's outside of a weekly range. No real trade setup. Really had the trade setup at the highs here, curled down, curled back up. They say recession is that opportunity. Yeah, there's kind of a sad truth with recession, which is everyone else gets bailed out except for you. Everyone else gets bailed out except for retail. It is one of the most un-American things ever. We bail out big banks over bailing out regular people. How about we let free markets free market, let people be accountable for their decisions like we talk about on this channel, and then whoever is supposed to lose will lose. Whoever is supposed to win will win. That would be better. But if you had a free market with not a bunch of money pumped into it, you would probably stay in a bigger overall range that would slowly start to grow over time. But we're not in that. We're in a debt system. That's why you're going to see this. We're in a debt system. So what happens when we pump a bunch of debt in? Oh, big upside. What about 2020? Ooh, okay, right here. Well, let's pump some money in. Banks are in trouble. Ooh, big upside. All right, retail's too greedy. Let's sell off. All right. It's not Yeah, Path really was suffering. The only bad part about her buy of Path is the timing. Her timing was not good on this trade as far as it goes because she kind of has to scale in at lower levels at this point because she bought here. She bought at $18, literally right here, the day before. Or at least when we were talking about it, someone said she bought the day before earnings, and then that saw a 34% drop off. So she lost a ton of money early, and then she scales into the positions, right? So that should tell you the behavior of some people, right? It tells you sometimes when you see that drop off, you go, is the company still good? Let's reevaluate. Is this a better price? And then she might put more money in this little range here and say, okay, that's actually a better price. You actually see a daily divergence here, weirdly enough. Yeah, Kathy lost 34% in one day. So if you guys, if you're ever bummed out about a trade, I want you to go look at Path and remember Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood. She bought right here and lost 34% in one day. So it should make you feel a little bit better and know that it happens to everyone. Dow really seeing some upside here, so we got to start to pay attention to those 2 hours crossing up. Let's see if that can cross. As of right now, we're seeing GameStop actually switch back to positive here. That's a good sign. You need that to go to higher levels. AMC flip into positive. That's a very good sign. And then you want to look at the opposite side of that story being NVIDIA, if that's going to curl up as well. She's long-term, yeah. So that's why I'm not like hating on her. I just think her timing was really bad. We talk about not getting in with earnings because that's not a good sign. But maybe that was her assessment with her other people that are working with her. Maybe they said that level is definitely a good price. And then if it drops lower, we're just going to get a better price, right? If people with a lot of money can really afford to hold things for a longer amount of time. Jumping on an SVIX day trade. All right, all right, all right. Volatility now down by 10%, able to curl down on the 2 hour. Remember, 2 hour curling back up is what we're going to pay attention to on this channel. This could all be pullback. No Tesla talk today. Well, we've talked about it a few times. Just we kind of bounce around, but Tesla for the most part, you want to see if that 2 hour can turn up. Right now, you're experiencing a 30-minute bounce. The key thing about Tesla, weirdly enough, is Tesla actually is closer to that center line on the 30 minutes, so you have a shot at a better move. Okay, notice we're talking about the positioning of the MACD again. Sometimes I don't just point it out right away, but for the most part, hey, this crosses up. It can actually be a little bit more positive than a lot of other moves. Classic trap close at the low Friday with a big red candle. Everyone expects follow through on Monday, only to gap up. Oh, we weren't expecting it actually. We were, if you go, just click on my channel. Click on my channel, look at the thumbnail, and tell me what we were expecting, more downside on Monday or upside. Because this signal right here tells you, hey, upside potential, but you are seeing some rig behavior, so this can fade quickly, so it's paying attention to it, but upside was pretty probable for NVIDIA, and NVIDIA holds such a high weight that most day we were talking about upside. But you're right, Dave. I mean, it's just something funky they always do. They're like, yeah, everything looks terrible. You should sell everything before the weekend and then make sure to sell your NVIDIA, and then it pops. So that's just a regular thing. But I actually have a call right here, right? So FEG range between 22290 to 2221 for Tesla. I mean, the big thing there is if it's going to go to, I would say that's definitely possible. I'd say 222 is definitely possible if one thing happens. This guy crosses up, right? If this starts to really confirm up with just a little bit of a strong bar, I think that next bar follows you through to something like 222. Oh yeah, I know, but you're probably talking about Dave, you're probably talking about the overall sentiment that it causes throughout the market, not necessarily with us people on YouTube or something like that, people that pay attention to these things. But I bet you we can do a fun little activity right now. Let's see, let's do a little fun thing here. Let's go look. Sometimes all you got to do to have a little of fun is look. We might need to look at some YouTubers and see what they were saying, right? Just you see this upside move and see if some YouTubers were able to call it, the ones that you pay attention to it, and that's perfectly fine. They don't have to be right all the time either. I'm not saying hold them to, they have to right 100% of the time. I'm never right 100% of the time, right? Never right 100% of the time. But are they paying attention to these things? That's kind of the key thing there. And maybe they've run into a time where they have a little bit of a bias, right? I've run into that as well. It happens to us all. But someone I like to check on a lot of the time, let's see what he was saying. Let's see. All right, so 3. Remember. All right, so 3 days ago, we had a certain YouTuber posting, "We're effed. This changes everything, and it is your final warning." We had the Fed is about to make emergency cuts, and that's why we are going to continue to drop. I wonder what YouTuber that was. Who can guess in the chat what YouTuber was saying? We are going to continue to crash this week, early on in the week. Yeah, slot machine. Let me look at that first, and then we'll go look at USO. We'll see how that's developing. 30-minute signal looks good, but what about a management of the trade here, right? Someone coming in and asking about the management of a trade, so let's go over that. So if this 15-minute crosses, where is it? Isn't that a bad sign? If that little 15-minute crosses, because I'm in a 30-minute trade. Let's pretend I'm in this, I'm in a 30-minute trade. Well, if that 15-minute crosses, it means it might reach a little lower and maybe my timing's a little bit off. And if that 15-minute curls back up, then I can reapply the position. Big Kev, the most dramatic one out there. There you go. It was Meet Kevin. Every single time that you're going, the guy posts 3 videos calling more of a crash. And we say, yeah, the crash can continue, but we're probably going to experience a bounce to the daily expected move. What do we see on Monday? A bounce to the daily expected move. Now, he could be, I don't know his overall take. I mean, I know he doesn't do technicals very well, but for the most part, timing is very important. So you want to be aware when these bounces can happen. 30-minute pretty much just crossed up. All right, we'll see if that can take us a little higher maybe. But, you know, a rug pull can happen anytime. Oh, nope, JK, hold on. PCC going up to 1. So now you might have fuel for a little mini squeeze is what I'll call it, a mini squeeze. We'll see. But don't you love daily expected moves? Those are fun. I'm convinced he plays. I'm convinced he doesn't. Here's what I'll say, John Baker. I think a lot of YouTubers that came out after 2020, I think they're like my buddy. My buddy did this. He you know, we're not very close, but I don't think he would even be watching this channel or anything like that, but I'm just going to talk honestly. I think a lot of people bought stocks at the bottom of 2020 when they saw money was being pumped in the system. They got a lot of good upside plays, a lot of money very quickly, and they thought they knew everything. I'll never say I know everything, right? I'm just going to be like, hey, I think this is the most probable thing. I know that a stock can go either direction at any time. So I'm always going to try to, for the most part, talk about 2 things. But a lot of people came out after 2020. That is when you saw a big boom in the financial YouTubers. And that is where I think a lot of people just got lucky with the 2020 moment and then thought they knew a lot. And then once the market changed, you saw that bear market, you saw a lot of them start to struggle. All right, let's go look at USO real quick. That's just my opinion, though. And that's someone who just watched a lot of content. That was just more, I didn't even have a channel back then, right? I made the channel pretty much after the bear market because that's when I really, really exceeded. And I said, hey, I actually have a very good skill here. I saw that, in my opinion, I was like, man, it seems like retail's just getting beat up. I saw that. I felt the market was getting more rigged than I've ever seen in a long time. I've been trading about 10 years, so I've pretty much, I was like, okay, this is looking like people need help. And I just really was sick of seeing retail lose over and over again. So that's why I made a YouTube channel. You can thank my wife. She helped encourage me. As far as USO goes, let's go look at that real quick. I got to type that in. I don't have it on my watch list anymore. But USO, we're just looking at this, seeing if it can curl up. Look at that. It's good so far. But if that 15-minute curls down, it's not going to be a good thing anymore. Now, good sign, you're getting a rejection, actually. Very good sign for your little 15-minute. So see if this 2-hour can turn up and you can start to feel even better about it. AMC to 22 by September 27th. Hey, we'll see, man. Anything can happen if that daily starts to curl up. As of right now, daily's curled up and that thing's moving. Just so you're aware, so everyone's aware. This can change by end of day, but this is curling up on a daily MACD. If you wanted a timing of like, hey, when could something pop off in the next, say, 30 days or so, you would probably be looking at this type of signal right here. Oh, shoot, there was something I had to do this morning. I just kind of remembered it. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a brief moment here. Let me put you guys over on the SPY real quick for a second. Watch that on a 30-minute, see if that's actually able to curl up or curl back down. Give me 1 second here. Where is it? Okay. Sorry, I just have to be on my phone for a split sec here. Sorry, I keep tapping my feet too. Alrighty, that's going. All right, we're done. Isn't the RSI trending down on the daily for the MACD for AMC? Let's go check that out real quick. All right, looking on the daily scale, it is trending down. Yeah, you see it trending down, but look at this. You have to pay attention when something is different, right? This is completely different than what we've seen, right? This, it kind of looks like this, but usually we flatten out. So we'll see if that happens throughout the rest of the day. But for now, you're just crossing above that RSI. You're crossing that MACD all at the same time. You'll love to see it, actually. I did play some Final Fantasy this weekend. I played some Final Fantasy VII. Just a little bit. I got to the Ancient Temple. The Ancient Temple. Right before Cloud gets into a wheelchair. So it's good stuff. My wife was making dinner and I turned it on and she hears the sounds from Final Fantasy and she just looks at me and shakes her head. So yeah, Tom, you want to pay attention when there's something different though. So what is this? This is a simple swing trade as of right now. And the swing trade was signaled a little bit on this bar right here, right? We see that cross the center line. If this can really extend, that would be a solid one. I've never played 12. I have 7, 8, and 9. Those are my favorites. So I have 7, 8, and 9 for Xbox. It's pretty fun. Sorry, I have ADHD, so if you bring up Final Fantasy, I'm probably going to talk about it. Nerd shaming. Yeah, she is. So these things are curling up. It's different because this is curling up. This is curling up at the same time. So this time right here, what was bad about this? It didn't curl up the MACD. This time right here, didn't curl up the MACD. This time right here, didn't curl up the MACD. This time right here, did. So something different is happening. I never played 10. I actually only played 7, 8, and 9, and I replay those over and over and over again. And I use like different parties and I'll like try. Sometimes I'll see how fast I can beat it. Sometimes I'll see how big of a level I can get. Sometimes I'll see, you know, if I can get every item or something like that. My brother played the remake. I'm probably gonna play the remake, to be honest. I gotta get the right system for it. But yeah, these are great signals. GameStop's already curled up. I might have to play it. My wife said, she's like, I would watch. It's just, you know, Final Fantasy VII looks like a bunch of Lego characters. I'm like, yeah. Alrighty. Let's go back over to the SPY, see if things are starting to drop off. Looks like they are, right? So we just got to see, are things rolling down on, say, even a 15-minute? Even a 15-minute, is that rolling down? Because if that rolls down, it doesn't have divergence either. So a 15-minute roll down would make sense. Let's see what the price at. Let's see. Give me one moment here. Continue. Alrighty, we're good to go. EMF, next major resistance, 63.56. I'm a long term with 80% of my rollover IRA invested. Want to be a multimillionaire. I'm rooting for you, Sid. Getting close to that VIX play. Yeah, getting close to that VIX play. If that 30-minute can cross up, that would be something to pay attention to. Just a quick note, 15 minutes showing a reaction down to that 20 level and reacting off of it. Dollar still holding at higher levels. PCC though is relatively high, so a lot of people still calling downside. It means we can experience downside, but we also could see that we could see this extension of the dollar for a little bit of time, maybe going on into tomorrow. Apple has a harder rejection. What do you think about that? Well, as of right now, what do I think about it? I think it might be setting up a 30-minute divergence to curl up at 2 hours. That's what I think. I actually think I want to be aware, and you're right. I love that statement of this could get ugly, and it's getting ugly, and it could remain getting ugly. But I want to pay attention right now, today. Do I see that 30-minute do this? Because that could mean, hey, I'm going to see a 2-hour move, and then we'll see what happens. As far as the Qs go, though, there's no reversal signal in the 30-minute, so I am looking for a 30-minute signal for the most part for a bigger move up. If we're just going to move, right, then I'm going to see that 2-hour curl up, and then the 2-hour could actually fade back down, giving you a bigger divergence down towards September 18th on the 2-hour. I think a 2-hour divergence for the Qs is overall what I want, right? Seeing this 2-hour, look how deep that is. It's very, very low. So that tells me, okay, we've V-shaped like this before, right? It's not unheard of. We have V-shaped before, but we're not seeing the same signals we saw down here when we called that little squeeze, all right? We're not seeing the same signals. So now I would say if we do pop from here and the dollar remains higher, we could just roll back down. And then if we create a divergence, that's when I'll be paying close attention. I think that's the most likely thing for the Qs going forward. Doesn't mean it has to play out. I'm still going to pay attention to if things are curling up and all that stuff. Yeah, so the 30-minute, right, when you notice it's all, like, this is the great part about technicals. Notice that a signal is possibly going to form with some kind of news that could come out with Apple. Has that news taken place yet? No. Is the reversal signal forming, though? Yes, so if you see that turn up, hey, the technicals are giving you a little hint saying, hey, pay attention to me during this because there could be some good things going forward. But until that curls back up, you have to say this is bad. It's a rejection on the 2-hour. You might have a little 2-hour double bottom. I don't know. 30-minute is really what I'd be looking at here, though. But I just want you to notice it's forming before that that little event. So then all you need to see is a little 30-minute like this. Everyone buys puts before the event, and then boom, calls end up being cheap. You get that, heads up to 225, and you go, thank you, thank you, thank you for the trade setup. Nice educational stream again. Hey, thank you so much for saying that, Angel. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for joining the live stream and for the smiley face. Stay smiling out there. Keep that good attitude, right? That's something we mentioned a little bit last night, and more so saying, right, I always encourage people to have fun over the weekend, really dedicate some time to family and all that good stuff, because that's what's important. But this week it felt necessary to say, okay, we've had our fun, let's lock in. You know what I mean? Let's lock in and really get down to it. So I'm glad we're able to see some people in here asking some questions that we can really talk about these, and then see people who didn't ask the question come in and just be like, oh, okay, that was very helpful. This is useful. Thank you for describing that. I think that's fantastic. So thank you guys for being here. So 30-minute signal for Apple could produce a possible trade setup. Why am I paying attention to it? Because if that crosses up, that's very significant. If this crosses up, right, it's very significant on the RSI as well if we would turn up. Now, you're not guaranteed to turn up. You're just ready to react. Exactly, Angel. That's pretty much what you're getting at. It's like, leave the past in the past, learn from it. That's the main thing. There's nothing you can do about the past. You can only not make those decisions again, right? Create better habits is overall going forward. You live in the present, you can make present decisions that benefit your future, but you can never go back to the past. The iPhone will have AI. Yeah, I've heard some rumors about that too. Most likely will. Do I want a phone with AI in it? Probably not. I'm like Oof, I'm like a couple steps away from switching back to a flip phone. Or a home phone. All the spam calls, all the everything. Ugh, hate it all. Thankfully, my new phone is that I got a few months ago when I ran over my old one with my car on accident. Gosh darn it. Lost a bunch of pictures with that because everything got crushed. But my new phone just pretty much scans it, says it's a spam caller, doesn't even ring, which is nice. Volatility trying to turn back up here. We'll see what happens with this going forward. IWM turning up on that 30-minute. No real divergence there either. NVIDIA is a big dog to pay attention to. See if that's rolling down on a 15-minute. Could just mean the timing is a little bit off, and I will manage my trade. Ooh, let's take a look out for gold. Interesting to see gold and the dollar heading up at the same time. Actually, the dollar heading up can mean bad things for gold. Does gold have a good 30-minute turn up here? If the 30-minute turns up, we can see positivity, but we might have more work to do before we're actually able to turn up. We're removing all landlines. I like it, Tom. Yeah, okay, so Tesla, one thing you can wait for is some 2 hours and things like that. Even a 30-minute confirmation. We never got confirmed on a 30-minute here, right? Could tell me now I need to pay attention to that 15-minute. Maybe we're going to curl down, make a little tiny divergence intraday, and then I can react. Sometimes my phone tells me what I'm thinking. Bro, sometimes I'll talk to my wife about something and start seeing those ads all over my phone. I'm like, how does that... That's not supposed to happen, right? Google down 1%. That's interesting. 30-minute rejected there. Not a good sign from Google. Dollar scaling up a little bit more right here, up 0.41 now. I actually think 15-minute rollovers for NVIDIA is what we should be watching right now. If that 15-minute rolls down, it means not good things for a little bit. Look for a reversal signal. We just think a little bit ahead. We go, if this crosses down, got to manage that trade. Then if I see something like this, I can get right back into that play. That's what I'm going to do going forward. GME actually flipping down for a second here, able to curl down on a 15-minute, right? We need a 30-minute curl down to be really convinced. Remember, this could have two things, right? The bullish thing, maybe some kind of cupping and handling happening here. And then you would say, as far as downside, you would say divergence play, right? 30-minute divergence for the double top. So a lot happening right here. Wonder what's going on out there, actually. Let's go look over and see if anyone's talking about some good stuff. Apple is going to be, it seems, the big talk of the day. Oh man, that's so sad. All right. Oh gosh, just hold this signal, AMC. Hold it. This will be interesting to watch later on today. We will be coming back for a live stream for the close. So the last hour of the close, we will be here. Make sure you are subscribed and ready to go. Should we buy Apple? Well, I can't really say if you should buy it. I can tell you if momentum is telling you anything, it's saying if it crosses up like this and you see a green bar here on the histogram and that crosses up, you have a good shot of going back into a positive trend. All right, so that can turn up a 2 hour. What could you experience on the 2 hour? An overall bigger 2 hour bounce that then maybe starts to roll down because you're deep on this MACD, right? We just want to be prepared for what we're actually getting into. So that'd tell me if I see a double bottom here, I'd really be looking at something like 225.84, 226, that level up there. And then I'd be saying, okay, that's probably enough profit for me if we see a strong move from some kind of event. But that's momentum telling you if the 30-minute crosses, we can see some kind of bigger move. So I'd be watching this like a hawk, and if I see green, maybe wait out that for like, you know, towards the end of the 30-minute bar and then make a decision. Yeah, Palantir already above its weekly expected move very early on in the week. Could get a rejection on the daily going forward, and that will be a bad sign, right? Timing not right. Okay, you see that divergence on the RSI, not necessarily on the MACD at the same time, right? Still comes above it. So now you're seeing it on both, because if that just rejects the next day, that's going to be a rejection divergence, and you can start to head to lower prices. So we'll pay attention to this. This could maybe trickle around or even see something like this for another day or so. Have you already liked this channel? Have you already liked this video, Lizard? Mara seeing a solid move now. Key thing with Mara here is going to be daily divergence on the MACD, not necessarily on the RSI at the same time. So we can look over at Bitcoin, see how that's kind of struggling here. But if that daily turns up, then I would say Mara most likely will see some upward price action. Gold's starting to go about to the 0 line right now, about 0, kind of breaking even as of right now. A lot of stuff kind of looking like, hey, I want to roll. Maybe, what time, by the way, someone remind me, what time is the Apple event today? Yeah, the problem with Palantir and why you could see a big drop there is just so many retail trade Palantir. It's one of like, I think Palantir is like the most traded stock by retail over the last couple of months. UVXY, you still want to look for the VIX to turn up, all right? You still want to look for that volatility to actually do it, but you can pay attention to UVXY for that position, but I like to see VIX popping up and then I make a decision with that. So more so watching VIX itself, and then just whatever UVXY is priced at when this crosses up is what I take. Manchester United. Wait, Manchester United's listed? No freaking way. Oh my gosh, no way. This is sick. Holy crap, this is dope. Oh god, that's awful. Oh my gosh, they're doing terrible. That's so cool. BITF. What is this? Bitfarms. Bitfarms, trying to see if there's a little daily divergence here. Flatness. Down a little bit. Flatness. Flatness. So you do have like a flat divergence. It means some kind of bounce can come. Look into a 2-hour. 2-hour doesn't necessarily have the best signal. You have an elongated divergence, so that can produce some good things. That could mean the reversal takes place right now for a bottom, but it also means I need to be aware this is still pretty far from that center line. So if it does rotate down again, I could make that little divergence or something. Them being down is no surprise. We have some not fans of Manchester United. That's funny. Yeah, what's that guy's name? What's the defender's name that scored like 3 own goals in 3 games? Maguire. Oh my gosh, Maguire. If you want to have some fun watching some soccer videos on YouTube, just look up Maguire own goals. Oh my gosh, dude. That guy. I feel bad for him because it's probably not like fully his fault. Maybe he's just unlucky, but I had a teammate that's very similar to him. I had a teammate similar to him who's like pretty decent, but a little sloppy, so he scores a lot of own goals or makes silly mistakes. I support United, but we're rubbish. Yeah, I think it's like he probably is decent, but he's just sloppy. And sloppiness can't be in the Premier League. You got to go to America if you want to play a little sloppy. He's the most expensive defender. Yeah, that's just a bad purchase. Now, I did see some updated games, and he was playing better, so you can't hate on him forever. But yeah, you'd hate to spend a bunch of money on a player, and he scores more goals on himself than he defends. Yeah, what if you could tell by the Manchester United chart how if they're going to see a win or a loss? That'd be sick. Okay, gold still flat now, curled down on a 2 hour, so most likely downside still for gold. Did that rotate down on the daily? Yes, so gold is really building a lot here. We can see a big reaction soon. You're a Barcelona fan? Ew, ew, Barcelona fans, right? No, I'm just kidding you, shit, Freddie Hazard. It could be a little bit important. That's why I'm going to look at that piece of data. I do have that up on my screen, Sid. Yeah, hopefully BITF. I mean, it looked interesting. Who was I a fan of? Weirdly enough, I was a big Juventus, or however you say it. My favorite player of all time is, oh gosh, what's his name? Edgar Davids. That was more my play style when I was center mid, Edgar Davids. NVIDIA is so... Ew. Like my daughter's diaper in the morning. Ew. Yeah, you just don't have the same management at Manchester United to make smart moves anymore, I don't think. If they're paying a ton of money for Maguire, it's just kind of a mistake. We just got to see if NVIDIA rolls over on a 15-minute, then we probably do see a reversal back down. Does it create stronger bases, right? Does it create at least a 15-minute divergence? If not, some kind of 30-minute divergence, right? A quick one. It'd be nice to kind of fool around up here if we're going to go make that divergence first, really get this extended up towards like this, and then you see that drop and we see a good divergence. Why am I... my throat has a frog in it. So mine were Edgar Davids when I was in high school, and then towards the end of high school when I realized I'm fast and I'm a pretty good winger and a forward, I really liked Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry was like definitely mine. That's why my number was always 14. 14 and 2. Gave my coffee a little chug. Yeah, Premier League is like baseball in America. They pay so much for players. It's kind of crazy. That's why I didn't like Manchester City back in the day. Because they completely got fined because they paid extremely high amounts to get players on their team because they had the funds. I didn't like that. And I was like, oh, you're just going to get a little fine. They're like, yeah, we have money, so we don't care. We'll just build the great team. And then Manchester City was like stacked for like 5 years. Oh, I like Modric too. But Modric, he wasn't even in it. I don't even think he was like fully prime the last time he was bought. But I love that dude. I love the fact that he never uses his right foot. He's one of the only players I've ever seen who can just blatantly not use one of their feet. All right, sorry. We'll get back to the market. Enough soccer talk. Sorry. I was a big soccer player. So. Oh, shoot. What is it? I feel like we will have recession before 2030. I think we will have recession before 2026. It was fun, Freddie. It was fun. Well, it was a good time. But yeah, I think by 2026 we'll see a lot come to light. That's kind of like that's the latest I see it happening. All right, let's check this on a 30-minute. Hasn't curled up yet. Still looking at NVIDIA. Remember, NVIDIA is the one that you got to see that 15-minute curl over. It's the one with the reversal signals, so you got to see if that one has the weakness. We're just going to chill for just a little bit longer here. just a little bit longer, and then I will have to go this morning. But just know, we're going to be coming back later today for that live show, so make sure you are subscribed with notifications on, guys. You think Meta will gap fill and head back up or more downside? Let's go look at Meta. We haven't paid too much attention to this. The key thing here is there a reversal signal here? No, there's not. Is there a reversal on the 30-minute signal here? No, there's not. Now, this could still extend for a little bit, but I think at some point you are going to fill this gap. I think you're going to fill this gap. Now, whether that's today and you make some kind of brief little thing here, or whether that's extended and then we make the brief thing later on, is to be determined. But for now, we just know this is most likely going to be a weak bounce. And what are you seeing? It's a weak bounce as of right now. So I'd say this, if the 15-minute crosses, then yeah, you're going to fill that gap. Right, and you're probably going to make some kind of signal, and that's when I would be paying attention for upside. Yeah, I can call upside in a lot of these plays because NVIDIA had the signal, but did I take these? No, I didn't take this because it doesn't have the reversal signal. NVIDIA does. So NVIDIA is the one that I take. AMC up towards 508, GME going back to positive, looks like some good stuff. Top companies are making money. Well, I mean, until, what's the way to put it? You're still seeing consumer spending. I mean, as far as the data goes that we got last week, we saw consumer spending is still higher than, consumer income. So the monthly consumer spending is higher than the monthly income, meaning people are still going into more debt to buy things, is what we would overall take from that. So new iPhone comes out, hey, Christmas is around the corner, put it on the credit card, right? That can happen and that can really extend those profits. But is that revenue actual cash? Is that revenue actual money? Well, technically that was bought with debt. So at the end of the day, everything's going to come down to debt. Even the consumer strength is going to be, hey, people are going into a lot of debt, right? We're about to head into that, you know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas season. That's when a lot of people start putting a lot more on credit cards. Yeah, look at that. So we haven't curled down on the 15 minutes. So do I have to manage the trade? No, I do not. Neo, yeah, some people talking about Neo. Let's go look at that king, all right? All right, short kings. Okay, so I'm still liking the 15-minute divergence there, but the 30-minute really looking like, hey, we can make a divergence for downside. But as far as it goes, you're seeing the daily curl up with a rejection. See that rejection, and then you curl up. I would say this bar 415 was the good level, seeing that cross back up. So now, as you saw some signals in here, let's go to a weekly scale. As you look at the weekly scale, what do you see? Well, you have a divergence on the weekly scale. That can turn up the monthly. The monthly scale, is that turning up? Yes, it is. So now you're seeing a positive bar for the monthly getting above the 9. That tells me, that we could actually see some positivity. Right? All of these things can lead to positivity, and that's what I think you're seeing for Neo at this moment. I think we're overdue to the max. AMD, by the way, that just pay attention to this. This is one thing I wanted to discuss a little bit further in the video, but I kind of like skipped over it. This not only means bad things for AMD, it could be an indicator of the overall market, because AMD, even though it's smaller than NVIDIA, it still does hold some weight, and so you can pay attention to it. A lot of people trading AMD. So that crossing over, if that remains in September, then the most likely thing is over the next 12 to 24 months, you are going to see lower prices for AMD. And that means we have to pay attention to this because the market has the same signals, right? The market has the same exact signal. You see it. It just hasn't happened yet. So maybe AMD is letting us know of something bad that can take place. We will find out eventually. AMC now up 2%. And it's funny. because usually whenever AMC goes up 2%, my options go nuts and I see some crazy green. Not seeing that just yet, but curling up on the daily scale is the most important thing. Watch it by the end of the day. Okay, the consumer info will be released on Wednesday. Let's go back over and make sure I got my timing right on this. Mortgages will be released. Then CPI on Thursday. Consumer sentiment on Friday. So those are the three big ones I need to be watching. All right, let's see. Can this curl down on a 15-minute? Something we can watch to see if something's going to lead it. I think that would be NVIDIA. You got to see if NVIDIA is going to curl down on this 15-minute MACD. Chewy, yeah, Chewy was just apparently, you know, rumored to be sold by Roaring Kitty. So we'll see if that turns out to be true. I would just say this, we're taking it from a technical standpoint, right? You don't want to do something just because someone sold. You still want to pay attention to the signals. If that 2 hour crosses up, gets to about 27.50, you're probably going to see this MACD here curl up, and it might be a simple swing trade, all right? Last time the swing trade triggered, yeah, it was during this bar, and boom, a little bit more upside. Then you have what? You have divergence. All right, so we had divergence on the 2 hour, and then we can see if this can turn up one more time. Did the daily roll down? Yes, it did. Did the daily have divergence? Not necessarily. It had a lower high, so Chewy does not look at the best as far as an opportunity for a massive move, but it does still hold true to the 2 hour could make this kind of signal. All right, it's not extremely down into negative territory or anything like that. As soon as I leave, it's gonna squeeze. It might. We'll see. I gotta go to the store. We gotta get groceries. And I don't know about anyone out there. Has anyone bought eggs in the last week? Our eggs at the store increased. They doubled. A dozen eggs doubled in price in the last couple weeks here. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to see if it happened to anyone else out there, if you were paying attention. Pay attention to NVIDIA at 99, and I think that's a perfectly fine statement there. I think right here, 99 would make some sense, right? We see that drop down one more time maybe, and then we go down towards maybe 100, maybe even 99 or something like that. We hold the tapering. I think that's the important thing. We got to hold that tapering. So I would even maybe even draw a line here and just be like, okay, I need to hold this or start to reverse above that. Because if I start to keep going down, then the daily momentum might be taking over. Yeah, eggs went up like crazy. You know what's funny? My buddy actually had me, he was like, yo, if you want to see a good indication, and he just was like, you know, he doesn't pay attention to markets, but he's like, the indication I pay attention to for when times are about to get tough is how expensive eggs are. Not in Florida, down a little bit actually. Lucky. In my state right now, we have a salmonella egg thing going on. We have eggs doubling in price. Maybe that's why. How much are you paying? Probably around that $4.99 price point. I think it was like, like 2 weeks ago, I could get a dozen eggs for like $2.79 or something like that. Like something crazy. Very good pricing. And then just like a week later when we bought eggs, or a week and a half later we bought eggs, I think it was up towards like $3.99. Maybe even $4.69, something like that. Yeah, we go to Aldi pretty often. The only thing about Aldi that's put us off is for some reason our meat has been tasting funny to us. So my wife's been spitting out a lot of food. She's like, that doesn't taste right, so I'm spitting it out. That doesn't taste right, so I'm spitting it out. So we're gonna be going to the farmer's market this weekend. Right now, Jeremiah, I think it's a salmonella thing is what's going on, but pretty much my wife keeps track of it. She's the one who keeps track of that stuff, so we're not eating anything bad. But for the most part, she was like, every single thing at our stores is being recalled. Well, that's the scary part. When you really look into grocery stores, do you know what they do to meat that's like a couple days away from expiration almost? Is they actually dip it in blood and repackage it so it looks red again, but it's actually browning. It's scary. It's like, damn. Oh, we're just about to cross. I was trying to wait a little bit. I do have to go, but I wanted to wait a second just to see if that was going to cross. All right, I'm trying, but I think I have to go, guys. So I'm getting kind of the wave down right now. So I have to go for a little bit, but I will be back on later this afternoon, and make sure you're tuning in for pretty much every video that we put out this week. I'm going to try to put out as many YouTube videos at night as possible. Obviously, you know, I'm a busy guy, but for the most part, I think that keeping people updated with those daily expected moves will be very important this week, as we can see some crazy stuff. Good moves so far from AMC, able to cross up the daily as of right now. Pay attention if that confirms being crossed up by the end of the day. That's something that we will pay attention to during the live stream later today. So I will see you guys an hour before the close, and then pay attention to the YouTube video that comes out tonight so you have those daily levels. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Make sure, if you want to dedicate yourself to some learning, we still are keeping those on sale just for a couple more days because we're seeing some crazy price action. And then after that, we'll maybe leave it on at some kind of sale, just at a little bit higher price than what it's at right now. As far as Wednesday goes, I think we're going to do that Wednesday or Thursday. I'm going to update that. So thank you guys so much for joining. Really do appreciate it. I hope you guys had a great time. I hope we were able to learn a lot. I'm glad we got to talk about some interesting things. There were some great questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining. I'll see you guys an hour before the close. Peace.